Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. We are recapping the week's nerdy news from Marshall, Missouri to Syracuse, New York, and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me, as always, is Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
Well, we made it through the holiday season, my friend. So here we are. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, New Year, whatever you celebrate to everybody.
Same to you, my friend, and everybody watching and listening. This is our last episode of 2020. Just real quick, I'm going to explain those locations that I gave at the top of the show. Those are not nerdy locations. That is the birthplace of my father, going to the town that I live in, where he spent most of his life, Syracuse, New York. My dad passed away from COVID-19 last year. Today would be his 71st birthday. And not that he would in any way give a shit about anything that we talk about on this podcast whatsoever. I don't know where I got my nerdiness from. It was not my dad. But I figured, what are the odds that we're going to do a podcast on his birthday? So I figured I'd shout him out, while the chance was there. So, yes, we did get through the holidays. As Steve said, we got right through them with a little help from Hawkeye that we'll be talking about at the end of this show. Spoilers for the season finale of Hawkeye at the end of this episode. But we're going to jump right off. Steve, when we did our last week's episode, and we did I should shout this out as too. Not only did we do a regular episode last week, we also did an hour plus review.
Longer than the real show.
Longer than the actual show. We did a spoiler conversation, review, reaction, dissection, whatever you want to call it, of Spider-Man No Way Home, the movie that just made over $1 billion globally this past week. So you can listen to that if you go back in the feed.
And if you listen to it, we said we were going to stop talking about Spider-Man, but here we are leading the show off talking about our Spider-Man show.
There's a lot of people that probably saw this movie within the last week, so I want to make sure that it's out there if they want to listen to us talk about it, if they have feelings about it that may match our feelings, or you may completely disagree with a lot of what we said about the movie, because we weren't quite as 100% on it as a lot of people were, or at least I wasn't. I should say I wasn't.
I don't know. We still, I think, ballpark, just to throw it out there, without listening to the show, we did, we gave it, I think, combined as a standalone film, like 8-ish, and as an event film, like 10 out of 10 plus.
10 out of 10. Yeah, so. Exactly. It depends on how you're looking at it. So,
right.
But anyway, those are there if you want to check those out. If you just saw Spider-Man and you want some spoiler reactions on it. If you haven't seen it, then certainly don't listen to that episode at all. But I can't remember which episode it was at the end of, with the regular one or the Spider-Man one. Steve, I think we talked about whether or not we were even going to do an episode today,
right?
Because we were not sure that there was going to be a whole lot of news dropping between, around the holidays. I feel like a lot of people take time off around the holidays, and that includes, movie studios and PR people, but not necessarily the case this week, when we're leading off with this lead story. And I got to tie this back to conversations that you and I have had on this podcast many times, or at least a handful of times at this point, when we are talking about HBO Max's Batgirl movie that they announced a few months ago, starring Leslie Grace as Batgirl, Barbara Gordon. We have had a number of discussions as to what universe this Batgirl is going to take place in, or this movie. That was the initial conversation, because it's a Batgirl. We haven't had a Batgirl in the mainline DCEU. We're getting a new Batman and Robert Pattinson, but that's supposed to take place in a different Earth, so that's not going to be part of the main DCEU series of movies. So where is this Batgirl movie going to fall? Is it going to be Pattinson? Is it going to be under Ben Affleck's Batman universe, or is it going to be something completely different? Then we got confirmation that J.K. Simmons is reprising his role as Commissioner Gordon in the Batgirl movie. That told us that it's taking place within the mainline DCEU continuity.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, as we both know, and as we talked about in last week's episode, Ben Affleck done playing Batman.
Right.
He finished filming his role in The Flash. He has a cameo in The Flash, I guess, or a big, I don't know, maybe slightly bigger than a cameo. We know very little about that movie, as we're about to talk about in our next story. But he said he's not interested in doing big IP blockbuster movies anymore. He wants to do more independent drama stuff. So he's not coming back as Batman. But how do you have a Batgirl movie without any connection to Batman whatsoever? Like, she's not adopted by him. She doesn't have to be like trained by him necessarily, but there should be an amount of inspiration on some level that causes her to become Batgirl and not just separate non-flying rodent-related
right.
vigilante girl.
Yeah, without a Cape Crusader, you really don't have anyone to emulate when you're Batgirl.
Similar to our problems with them making Venom movies that don't have Spider-Man in them.
Right. Yeah, and it'd be, I mean, you're talking like, would you make a Nightwing series without any Bruce Wayne references?
Batman?
I don't think
so. Without Robin references? Would you make a Robin movie without Batman? No, you would not.
Speaking of which, just 30-second timeout on that. That's a sports reference, by the way, Mike.
The timeout thing?
The 30-second timeout specifically. No, the Tom Taylor Nightwing, I did get the first hardcover on my poll, so.
Ooh, nice.
So we'll see. Maybe I'll throw
Awesome,
I won't read it that quick. I've got too many things stacked up, which we'll talk about later.
While you already tangented us. Tangented?
We'll go with it.
Within our first story, before even actually reporting the very first story, I will say that I read the Nightwing 87 of that run that as we announced a couple weeks ago, is one continuous image the whole time.
Right.
Like all the pages just shows one in real time story moving through the issue. It was amazing and glorious. So check that out for fans of awesome comic book things. Anyway, so who's going to be Batman in this Batgirl movie? Is Ben Affleck going to come back? Are they just going to like reference Batman? He's going to be like a shadow and going to do something lame like that where he's not really actually in it? No, ladies and gentlemen, they're not going to do that. Michael Keaton is reprising his role as Bruce Wayne, Batman, in the Batgirl movie. Now, wow. Okay, this news broke from The Hollywood Reporter, and then it was confirmed on Twitter by Leslie Grace, Batgirl herself, retweeted it and said, "Bats out of the bag," or something clever like that. So, holy crap. What does this mean, and how is this possible? What? Like, this is a Batman. Bruce Wayne is okay, sorry. I'm all over the place. Michael Keaton is reprising his role for The Flash. We know that he's going to be in The Flash because The Flash is a multiverse movie where The Flash is going to run through a wormhole, or he's going to run back in time. He's going to change something. He's going to alter whatever. And he's going to end up in a different universe or different universes. Who knows? We don't know much about that movie at all, which I'm excited that we don't know much about it. But how does the Batman of the Tim Burton universe become the Batman of the Zack Snyder universe? And I can only imagine that whatever the Flash is going to change in the Flash movie will combine those two universes somehow, or the events will just change magically and it, more or less erase Ben Affleck's Batman and replace it with Michael Keaton's Batman. Like, does that sound like, what are we talking about here? This is crazy.
Well, within the last week, I've seen a movie that really touches on multiverse things.
Yeah.
And I still have no idea how that's going to do anything.
I know. Well, because, Spider-Man bringing all those villains and everything, multiverse-wise.
Yeah.
They're doing it in a way where, this is a very minor spoiler for that movie. They're doing it in a way that it's not, by the end of the movie, you know what's going to happen moving forward.
Right.
And those villains aren't necessarily going to be a big part of the MCU moving forward. We're not necessarily going to see Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus as a big, I don't know. I guess who knows, right? Like, based on that movie, maybe we won't, but based on whatever they feel like doing, maybe we will. Who knows? That's not too spoilery, trust me. But this seems like it would have major repercussions for the future of the DCEU if Michael Keaton is all of a sudden going to show up in the main DCEU as Batman and as Bruce Wayne. That seems like it's going, and I only assume that there's going to be a Flash connection because both the Flash and Batgirl were written by the same writer, Christina Hodson, who also wrote Birds of Prey. So I like that this Flash movie that is seemingly going to have like, send ripples of after effects through the DCEU, was written by somebody that is going on to write more DCEU movies, so they know how to handle what's going to happen in the Flash. So that's why I think that could possibly be what happens.
Right.
It could also be why they're saying it's Ben Affleck's last appearance as Batman, because they know that there's a finality to it in some way.
I mean, it could be a good method to make that happen. And if Keaton is willing to take up the mantle moving forward, moving backwards, moving forward again, and Affleck really has no desire whatsoever to, then okay, cool.
And that's my next was going to be my question for you, Steve. Basically, like, what do you think of this? As someone who isn't necessarily in love with Batman as a character as much as I am, what do you think of if what I'm saying or what we are thinking here is the way it's going to happen? What do you think about Michael Keaton all of a sudden being the main Batman in the DCEU?
Well, if one thing you've taught me in the DC universe is to actually watch through all the crap that you've thrown at me, one thing Titans itself has taught me is that an older Bruce Wayne can be a really, really good thing. And
that's true.
And especially, seeing as he's reprising the role in a Batgirl film, and, God forbid we get, more of the other Robins and stuff like that. If he's sitting there in the mentor role and kind of pulling the strings instead of being in the action, I think that would be a really interesting take on utilizing someone like Keaton, who's been around and in the cowl for 3 decades now. It's been 3 decades, but most people would associate him with that of a certain age and beyond. So basically, anyone older than us thinks of Keaton as Batman.
True. So. Steve, I gotta say, I was gonna respond to that in one way, and you just changed my mind a little bit about that. I was not negative about it, but more apprehensive about it because, and this, I haven't completely let go of this feeling,
right?
But I will acknowledge it in saying that I love Michael Keaton. I loved him as Batman in those first 2 movies. I love the idea of him coming back in the Flash. Am I apprehensive about him being the main Batman in the DCEU moving forward? Yes, because that means we still don't get a DCEU that is made up of, the Justice League lineup of characters, all of them at their peak crime-fighting abilities.
Justice League proper, or
exactly.
Justice League Prime, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, we don't get. They're not all necessarily peers. Don't necessarily have all the relationships from the comics that we want them to have, but we do get more Michael Keaton as Batman, which is awesome at the same time. But what you just said made me more excited because you're right, the Titans version of Bruce Wayne as an older guy is great. They do it very well, and it leaves room for all these amazing characters to exist that I love, sometimes as much or more than actual Batman, Nightwing, Batgirl, Robin, Red Hood, whoever else you're talking about, Huntress. Like the thousands of, I guess Huntress is already in the DCEU, but not necessarily as a Batman person, but just so many like underlings and sidekicks and whatever that he has adopted. Like it opens the floodgates for a Bat family when he's a little bit older, because he could already have those relationships or, I guess whatever. And if I want a young, angry, in his prime Batman, I got the Robert Pattinson Batman movie coming out in March. So I can still get that flavor from those movies, and I get a little bit of different over in the DCEU, which is fine. But it does remind me of the fact that the way Zack Snyder launched this universe, launched a shared universe, I should say, after Man of Steel, because I like Man of Steel quite a bit. But the movies he did after that kind of immediately railroaded any chance of the DC universe being, like we just said, Justice League prime of their lives, proper Justice League. So anyway, regardless, I'm excited about this, and I think, like we talked about last week, Blue Beetle, the Blue Beetle movie, just got promoted from an HBO Max exclusive to a theatrical release. I would not be surprised that now this movie has Michael Keaton and J.K. Simmons. I would not be surprised if this also gets bumped up to theatrical.
Yeah, I would think it almost has to at this point.
I'd be shocked. It might depend on how The Flash does, because that's like the on-screen return of Michael Keaton as Batman, and I can't imagine that that's not going to do well as a film just because of that. Like, people are going to want to see that, especially I can't imagine that we're not going to see him in the next trailer that comes out. You know, like there's going to be like hype for that movie when that comes out.
I don't know. I mean, we're probably not going to see like No Way Home numbers, but we're going to see good numbers for that movie. Like it's going to be impressive.
I think so. I mean, if it's really well done, I can see seeing bigger numbers for the sequel. Because the Flash isn't a household character the way Batman is or Spider-Man is. Like, Spider-Man made $1 billion. I'm the Batman, when that comes out, that's going to make $1 billion easy. I think, like, these are characters that are just in people's hearts. Nerds and non-nerds alike love going to see movies that are based about these characters. Flash, not quite there, not on the same level yet. Like, certainly very interesting character.
Think Iron Man 1.
Yeah, sure, exactly. Yeah. Or like Green Lantern, which I think made a modest until people realized it was terrible.
Right.
They're like the same level. They're like the next tier down of, for comics readers, Flash is an A-lister. Absolutely. But you know what? Also, we can't discount the fact that people have been watching 7 seasons of a TV show about this character on the CW for the last 7 years. So there may be more of an audience for Flash than we are giving credit.
Right.
To which we're giving credit right now. So I guess we'll have to see.
I don't know why that whole thing made me think of the dichotomy back when DC and Marvel launched their stuff, and how Marvel was kind of forced into using their B-list
second string stuff,
and like actually developing the stories, whereas DC was able to just punch with the A-listers, but it left a little to be desired. And like thinking about what DC would have been if they'd have been able to launch, like if they launched Titans as their main line of like that generation of superheroes as like their main line, and you started off with a Nightwing movie or something, and it's like that would be a whole different feel to everything.
It would. Yeah, it would. I really think, this is a digression, I really think that after Man of Steel, they should have, one, made a Man of Steel 2.
Right.
And they also should have, I know like Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy had just ended. Like Dark Knight Rises had just come out. I say they should have said, screw that. We're doing another Batman movie, a reboot with Ben Affleck. Like if that was going to be the guy, you make a solo Ben Affleck movie, and then you start building your DC universe from Gotham City. And you do a Batman movie. Maybe you introduce Robin at the end of that or whatever. And then the second one is Batman and Robin. And then the third one is Robin leaves to become Nightwing or whatever, and then you get a Nightwing movie, then you get a new Robin, then you get Jason Todd, then you get the death of Jason, then you get all this like stuff spiraling out, and then you can wrap that into the Superman Man of Steel 2. Maybe you meet Wonder Woman, then then you kind of spiral out of that. Anyway, it's hard to talk about things that already didn't happen. But anyway, speaking of the Flash, moving into another DC story. And these are basically the same story, because we're talking about the Flash, we're talking about multiverses, we're talking about people coming back, we're talking about what it means. Michael Shannon and Antje Traue are joining the cast. They're the actors that played General Zod and Faora in Man of Steel, the two main bad guys, evil Kryptonians trying to take over the planet Earth in Man of Steel. So, wow.
Yeah.
So my mind immediately jumps to, if they are in this movie, this means that Flash is going to encounter a universe or a reality or an alternate reality in which Superman either doesn't exist, never came to Earth, or was unable to stop General Zod from taking over Earth in Man of Steel.
Or
Or
Flash ends up heading to that universe and back in time to a point prior, and we see him in the events. And in all honesty, that could be, yeah, I mean, head back to the point where, like, you meet Cavill and Shannon and Traue in that point in time prior to the events of that movie or something along those lines.
Well, Steve, you're right. That is another possibility. But you know what that means? If they do that, if Flash travels back into Man of Steel somehow and witnesses those events, a la the beginning of Batman vs. Superman, where Bruce Wayne sees that stuff, that would call, most likely, for the return of Henry Cavill as Superman. So a lot of people are speculating, like, okay, we're getting General Zod and Faora. Like, what are the chances we're also getting Henry Cavill, either... maybe not even in like a big role, but like a cameo of him being dead or beaten or something, or his dead body hanging somewhere in General Zod's throne room. I don't know. I'm making stuff up off the top of my head right now.
Some reference to the Cavill version of Superman.
Yeah. But the fact that these two are coming back should be good news for fans of restoring the Snyderverse. Although I think they just, like I said last week, I think those people just want Zack Snyder to come back to the franchise. Yeah. Not going to. He's done. He moved on. But it does firmly plant this film in the DCEU continuity, and it should, because Ezra Miller is still playing the Flash. But I like that they, they're obviously, DCEU is not as far along as Marvel. They don't have 25 movies or whatever, and plus TV shows to drag characters from and plot points from and whatever. But they have enough to do this, and it's cool that they have enough that they are able to reference villains and events from past films. And I'm sure they won't do this in a way where, like, if you haven't seen Man of Steel, you will have no idea what's happening. Like, I'm sure there will be maybe a character from another universe that has to be explained, like, oh, these people try to take over Earth, and now Superman must never have stopped them or whatever.
Right. To get Cavill back, I mean, knowing Henry Cavill and everything that you hear about the guy, you probably wouldn't even have to pay him. You'd probably just be like, "Here, take this, put it on. We're gonna go do something." Like,
he wants to come back as Superman so bad. You know that he does. And
I mean, the guy literally for The Witcher because he wants to be in character, wears contacts that he can't wear for more than 30 minutes to film. Like, he's got his bona fides, let's put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think if you were to survey any number of fans of the DCEU films, and if you were to say, what should they do next? A lot of Restore the Snyderverse people would say Zack Snyder's Justice League 2. But I think the other most popular response you would get would be Man of Steel 2, or a solo Superman movie with Henry Cavill. And I am one of those people as well. I would love to see another Superman movie. I don't know why they haven't made one yet. Man of Steel came out in 2013. I don't know why there's been controversy. I mean, I do know why there's been controversy, because Zack Snyder made some movies that didn't do that well critically. So that's why there's been controversy. But for the love of God, give us a Superman movie with Henry Cavill. Like, fans want Henry Cavill back in the role. We don't want another reboot. We want more of him. I don't know that we're going to get that. But Michael Shannon and Antje Traue returning to this role might be the closest we get, even if it's just like a scene of them. That might be the closest we get to a Man of Steel 2. Or we'll get a little bit of flavor of that anyway. And I got to say that the Flash movie does seem to be pulling a lot of elements from the Flashpoint event in DC Comics, where Flash goes back to prevent the killing of his mom. When he comes back to the future, he has realized he's changed a ton of stuff, and things are not the way they used to be, and people are not the people he thought, and things like that, which leaves them open to make changes, like Michael Keaton being Batman instead of Ben Affleck.
Right.
But also there is a plot point in that Flashpoint storyline of that, you know, when Superman crashed to Earth, he wasn't found by the Kents, he was found by the government, and he's been kept in an underground lab since he landed on Earth. And he's an adult, but he's like emaciated because they don't need to let him use his powers. He hasn't seen the sun in 30 years or whatever. So
right.
They free him thinking that he's going to help them, and then he just leaves completely.
That's a hell of a what if right there.
Yeah, because he's like, why? Screw you guys. Why would I stick around to help you? Like, I haven't been raised by people that told me to use my powers for good or whatever. So he's just out. So anyway, I feel like if they were gonna do that, I don't know. My secret hope is that Cavill is going to be in this movie, and they haven't told us, and they're saving it as a reveal in the theater, which would be incredible if they just he just shows up. People would lose their minds.
Yep.
So anyway, here's hoping for that, and cool to have some some DC universe news to talk about and theorize about, because it's been a little bit since we've had some stuff you can really dig into.
Absolutely.
Speaking of theories and rumors and what have you, moving into the Marvel Universe, we got a teaser and poster for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. If you are one of the people that saw Spider-Man No Way Home, this is a very minor spoiler for that movie concerning the post-credit scene. The post-credit scene for Spider-Man No Way Home is this trailer. It's the trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It was, I think a lot of people in that theater were expecting a scene. Nope, full trailer. It was not a tease like you're expecting from Marvel movies. Wasn't the event like what movie was it when we got the trailer for the Avengers? The first event, was it the first Captain America movie? What, the post-credit scene wasn't a real scene, it was like a trailer for the Avengers, I think.
Was it?
I think so. One of the wave one Marvel. I think it was, because Captain America was the last solo movie to come out before the Avengers.
Huh.
So I think that his post-credit scene was just kind of a trailer for the Avengers. Anyway, haven't seen that since then. I loved this. Steve, what did you think about it? We saw Wanda Maximoff, America Chavez, Mordo, an evil version of Doctor Strange. I mean, this is widely released now. It's on YouTube.
They debuted it the week after, or during the week after the debut for No Way Home. So. And
you called that. I did not think you said that in one of the last episodes. I think you're like, oh, in the Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was in the Spider-Man episode. I was like, it'll be out this week. We'll talk about it on the next episode.
Yeah, and in my head, I was like, I don't think they're going to release that. I think they're going to keep that as a surprise for Spider-Man people. But you were right. They released it.
The internets get things moving too quick, so they had to get ahead of it. Yeah.
So what'd you think?
I mean, I thought it looked awesome, because it's going to fundamentally shift a lot of things, because welcome to multiversing. Just the shots of America Chavez had me like just excited that she is going to be in it. If you can punch through the multiverse, then you should probably be in the multiverse movie.
Say, tell people who America Chavez is. We probably have before, but just a quick rundown for people listening who don't know that character.
Oh God, I can't even how to overall describe it. Basically, anything that has to deal with multiversing, she has the ability to. God, every time I enjoy when I see her in stuff, and I can never like put a finger on exactly what she's doing.
Let me see how they describe her online.
That's superhuman strength, speed, longevity, and durability, flight, invulnerability, star portal creation, star blast, interdimensional travel, and time travel are her abilities.
Wow. Okay. There you go.
Thanks.
So, powerhouse character.
Yeah, she can do things. So, and
also known as Miss America.
Was that originally what she was dubbed as, or was that one of the series?
I believe so. I think
like the book that she was.
The first time I saw her being referenced as Miss America, and then I realized later her name was America Chavez.
Gotcha.
And I think mostly is called by that.
Yeah, anytime I've ever read anything of her was in like the Young Avengers. Like I think it was it Kieran Gillen that did a Young Avengers run a while back.
Yes, and that's true. She is a Young Avenger, which lends into our theory of that we're going to see a Young Avengers movie sooner than later.
Yep.
Especially when we get to Hawkeye Talkeye later in this episode.
Yeah, they're starting to pull a lot of the threads together for that. I mean, we've got Patriot from Falcon and Winter Soldier. We got Kate, we got Yelena. Yep. So there's some pieces to the puzzle that are falling together.
For sure. So I'm sorry, I cut you off by making you give America Chavez description.
A horrible backstory.
What did you think of the trailer?
I thought it was I ended up I watched it twice. Both times there's a lot to take in. There really is. You've got Mordo, like you mentioned, a definitely aged Mordo from when we saw him. Like time has passed because he has long hair.
And long hair.
So it's not like it immediately is happening after Doctor Strange or anything. Though who knows?
Everything is 5 years later.
Oh yeah, post blip.
So it's at least 5 years after. I mean, at least 5 years after Endgame.
So judging by the hair, Mordo didn't blip.
Yeah.
I'd assume Wong is still Sorcerer Supreme.
Yep.
So, sorry, spoiler alert on that. Yep. I'm not gonna bleep that one out. I don't think that one's big enough to. I don't think that's gonna throw the whole movie for a loop.
I don't think we're allowed.
But seeing Scarlet Witch, and seeing a couple things that she's got going on that may be questionable.
I love that. I feel like this happens in a lot of movies, and a lot of times in Marvel movies, I could be wrong, or superhero movies in general, where the last time you saw a character, they were involved in some crazy thing that was like very dangerous, and
like looking and reading in the Darkhold, trying to find your kids.
Right. Yeah. No, I just mean like the exchange where Doctor Strange walks up to Wanda in the trailer, and she's like, I know, I hurt a lot of people. And he's like, I'm not here to talk about Westview. But then what do you hear? I need your help. Like, I feel like that exchange happens a lot in like genre movies or like superhero kind of, or comics in general. Like, I'm not here to talk about that horrible thing that you did to all those people that you should be in jail for. I need your help. Yeah.
So
yeah,
there was I saw on the interwebs the frame where she's sitting there meditating or casting something or whatever she's doing in that scene. You can see the tips of her fingers are kind of blackened.
Ooh.
A la Agatha Harkness. So maybe a little bit more of the Darkhold than we know or thought. So we'll see where that goes.
That'd be cool. This is another, I mean, we're getting this a few months before The Flash, but they're both multiverse movies. We've seen very little from both of them. This is the most we've seen from this movie. We got a very short teaser for The Flash at DC Fandom. But we have seen very little from both movies, and both movies could do literally anything, and we have really no idea what's going to be about, except in this trailer we saw evil Doctor Strange. And Steve, because I don't know if you know this, because you didn't finish watching What If, you did not care for it, we meet evil Doctor Strange in the What If series. And so
I heard that. I did not see that.
Yeah, so the question is this the same evil Doctor Strange? Or, I mean, my guess would be yes, that they want to make their What If series more quote unquote canon, I guess.
Right.
Even though it's called What If because it didn't happen. But what if it did happen? I guess they're dipping into that. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm sure they're not going to do it.
At the same time, there may be multiple evil Doctor Stranges.
That's also true, and it's similar to something I said about The Flash. I'm sure they'll do it in a way where you'll be completely lost if you haven't seen the What If episodes with evil Doctor Strange. But I thought that was interesting, and an interesting choice of, I don't know. We don't know that he's going to be like the main villain of the movie, and I kind of hope he's not, because I don't know. Marvel has gone through a lot of movies where the bad guy is just an evil version of the good guy.
Yep.
Kind of, and that's not always the most interesting. Like, Iron Man fights Ironmonger, and he's just in a giant metal suit. Or in the second movie, he just fights a lot of different giant metal suits. Or in Black Panther, Killmonger is a very interesting villain, but his powers are just the same, and he's just evil. Like, things like that.
Well, I got a question because I did see the first episode of What If.
Okay, what's your question?
You remember at the end of that, there was a giant multi-dimensional tentacled creature that may or may not have dragged Captain Carter into a portal.
Yes.
And in the trailer, we definitely saw a giant tentacled multi-dimensional creature that may or may not have looked like Shuma Gorath.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm wondering...
Interesting. I'm trying to think. I feel like I don't remember from What if they destroyed that monster in a later episode. I think they might have.
Okay, so it might not have actually been Shuma Gorath.
No, I don't remember.
Huh.
I don't remember if the tentacles did come back and they destroyed it, or I wanted them to come back and they didn't. And I just thought of it in my brain. I don't know. I love that scene in the trailer though, where he throws a bus and Doctor Strange cuts the bus in half to save him and America Chavez as it goes by. That was cool.
Yep.
Anyway, this was great. Like, it was really good. Again, not a spoiler. You know, Doctor Strange is in Spider-Man: No Way Home. I really liked seeing him in that movie because it reminded me of why I love the first Doctor Strange movie. It has such cool visuals in it, and it looks unlike a lot of other Marvel movies do. And there's some stuff that only Doctor Strange can do that we saw him do in No Way Home. And then having this be the post-credit scene was like, oh yeah, I'm really excited for this movie. Like, it was just really
hype level increasing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was smart of them to attach a trailer as the post-credit scene for a movie that, like, we assume is going to have giant repercussions for the MCU, and also is probably going to make a ton of money. Like, let's put this trailer on the end of a movie that's definitely going to make $1 billion. Yeah. Easy. So smart move.
Get as many eyes on this as possible.
Many eyes on it as possible, exactly. So we're moving from Marvel to Star Wars. Steve, you sent this story to me. You saw on Reddit, there was someone posted on Reddit a photo of, it looked like the side of a box or something. Like, we don't really know what it was, but it was part of
it was the packaging for what Lucasfilm sent to their anybody who worked on their properties that year. So
production
basically,
employees, again, an annual Christmas gift for the production employees for Lucasfilm. The side of the package, like you were saying, Steve, included a lot of logos for like shows that have been worked on or are being worked on, including Willow, The Bad Batch, Star Wars Visions, all 3 shows that we know about and have debuted. Oh no, Willow hasn't, but have been announced. We've seen 2 of those shows already. Yep. And the 4th one on this particular part of the packaging said Tales of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? And why haven't we heard about it? They announced so many Star Wars shows a year ago. That was not one of them. Why wasn't the Lando logo on there? Why wasn't the Cassian Andor logo on there, or whatever?
Well, the Andor one was on the flip side. The other side of it, if you looked at the other image, it was Obi-Wan, Andor, Book of Boba Fett, and maybe Mando. So it was all like known. Yeah, it was all like known properties. This Tales of the Jedi was the only one that really stood out as, what in the hell is that?
Well, Steve, I don't know what this is, but you might know what this is. Talk about what you think Tales of the Jedi might be.
I do know what this is.
Steve is holding up an omnibus comic book of Tales of the Jedi, Star Wars Tales of the Jedi omnibus.
So Tales of the Jedi back in the day was an expanded universe, like when Dark Horse was putting out all the Star Wars comics. This was a run done by Kevin J. Anderson, I think 4,000 to 5,000 years before the Battle of Yavin.
Whoa.
So when it was published, and it might still be, no, because they did Dawn of the Jedi. It was the earliest chronology of any Star Wars anything that was put out. So it handled like the early Sith Wars and stuff like that. Exarch Kun, some of the big bads from the EU were taken from some of this era. It was just like overall a very fun read and just like intriguing to have this separation of kind of like we're getting now with the why is my brain blanking? The High Republic era. where it's a disconnect from the Jedi we know. This was kind of the original, all right, let's take a time that's way the hell away from what we're seeing or know, and turning that into its own little run. And they did. I mean, this is volume 1. I think they did 3 volumes of it, 3 omnibus size volumes of it. So the books must have sold pretty good. This is the only one I have copy of, but they're like, it was intriguing to see a whole new look at the Jedi and like what it would have been like in the past. So
that is cool. But here's my question. Do you think that's what this is going to be, or do you think they're just using a title that people are maybe familiar with and a title that sounds good for their own thing?
So what I wouldn't be surprised with is if they took, much like they have for a lot of the old EU, if they took a lot of the framework of this and wrapped it into something else. Like, I know they're doing the High Republic thing and taking a step back. Maybe this is them throwing like an animation project out that's thousands of years before, like maybe it's even Old Republic era or something along that lines, where they already have some established canon in there. But, you know, like you said, taking a hook of Tales from the Jedi, or Tales of the Jedi, and, you know, turning that or using that hook as, hey, this is a catchy title. Let's use that instead. So
here's what I want it to be.
Okay. I'm all in.
I want it to be like an anthology series, episodic, that, I don't know, maybe it comes together at the end, or like kind of like the What If, the show, like it seems like episodic, and then at the end, you know, there's a plot. But I would love it to be about a different Jedi. Like, we just see different Jedi, either that we're familiar with or that we're not familiar with.
Yep.
You know, on different like solo missions or whatever, each week. And what I really would love to see would be one that is like, you know, Hayden Christensen is back on the Disney payroll.
Right.
Let's see a young Anakin episode. I know you're making a whole Obi-Wan show, but hell, give Obi-Wan an episode. Give us a Yoda episode.
Yeah.
Give us a Mace Windu episode.
Yeah. You know,
and for God's sakes,
Kit Fisto, Stacey Tin, like my son would love giant head. Never mind.
Not Plo Koon, the giant, like the cone head guy?
Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Ki-Adi-Mundi, yeah.
But like, use all the council.
I'm saying, young Luke Skywalker. Give me. We know you can do it, Disney. We know you can do it, Disney. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Give it to me. That's what I want. That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants it. Let's see it. Let's see it.
I mean that.
Or maybe that's it. Maybe that's just it. Because Jedi is plural and singular. There's no pluralization of Jedi. Maybe this is tales of one singular Jedi, and that Jedi is young Luke Skywalker. Probably not, because that would be expensive for them to do.
No,
I don't know. We know they can do it.
That episodic thing is. I know I've talked in the past about the tales of the books that they did back in the EU, where like they had Tales from Mos Eisley Cantina or Tales of the Bounty Hunters, or it was all just this episodic. Like, hey, you know, like Obi-Wan has to go to Onderon this week. Let's follow him and see what happens.
Exactly.
His hijinks and shenanigans.
Yeah, it'd be great. You could give us an Ahsoka. Like, again, I know Ahsoka's getting her own show. Obi-Wan's getting his own show, but like, I would still take like a one-off, or like give us a team up. You know, give us an Obi-Wan Yoda team up episode or something. That'd be so cool. It'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here's hoping that we get some official information as to what this is. All just Steve and I theorizing and nerding out over what it could be. Interesting that they would put that on a Christmas gift because it's production. It's people that have
that
been
means something's been in production.
So that means somebody's working on something called Tales of the Jedi. So let's have an announcement, Lucasfilm. And also, you should get employees that aren't going to take photos of the exclusive things you're giving and putting them on Reddit, because gonna get out there. All right, moving into some comic book talk, ladies and gentlemen. We got. I'm gonna do the second story first because it's like kind of less to talk about, and then we'll jump back to the first one. That cool with you, Steve?
Yeah. And we just talked about them too. So.
Yeah, we just recently spoke about a story how it was being rumored a few weeks ago that Dark Horse Comics was going to be sold, likely
Dark
to
Horse
some
Comics.
kind of Dark Horse Comics, once and future publisher of Star Wars comics.
True.
Where they were going to be sold, and likely it was all in all likelihood they were going to be sold to some kind of big like a streamer like Netflix or Amazon or something would buy them to use that IP, use that content to develop projects. That was correct, basically. Not necessarily a streamer of that magnitude, but Dark Horse Comics has been sold to Embracer Group, which is a Swedish gaming conglomerate. Has bought up a lot of different gaming companies over the years. And Embracer Group has bought Dark Horse and has cited their, quote, untapped potential of the Dark Horse library. And it noted that 159 of its 170 owned properties have yet to be optioned for film and TV shows. So that is quite a bit of IP that maybe people are less familiar with. It's not like they own Batman or Star Wars or something, but certainly comics that have done reasonably well, people that would be tangentially excited about or in the know of, I should say. And yeah, that's a good get. Dark Horse has a lot of stuff. They own Hellboy, and there's a lot of people that would love more Hellboy films. I think the last one they made kind of had mixed results, but Hellboy is a really popular character, and if you're not making Hellboy adaptations, then I don't know, something's wrong. So I don't know. I think this is cool. It'll be cool to see what comes of this. Obviously, Dark Horse has the Umbrella Academy on Netflix, which is like kind of their main, I would think, their most notable adaptation of their source material.
Yep.
And I think they have a first look deal with Netflix. So anything like Netflix has first right of refusal for any adaptation of any Dark Horse property, but who knows if that'll change with the sale here. But so I don't know. We'll have to see what happens there. And it'll be interesting if we get some more Dark Horse adaptations. But in other comic book news, direct comic book news, we got the announcement. This is kind of a big deal. Mm-hmm. The announcement of a new Punisher series at Marvel. This is coming out in March. It's a 13-issue miniseries, or maxi series, like I should say. Prestige format, oversized format books, which are cool to read but hard to store because they don't fit in a regular comics box that you buy to store them, and they also look weird when you put them on your shelf next to your other graphic novels because they're a lot longer than your regular graphic novels. It's a whole thing for people buying these books, and I got a lot of DC Black Label stuff that I don't know what to do with, guys. I love it. It's huge, but figure it out.
That's the director's edition of God Loves Man Kills.
Yeah,
it doesn't fit on a bookshelf. It's like this tall, and I'm like, what?
Right.
What do I do with that?
Yeah, come on. Anyway. This new Punisher series is coming from writer Jason Aaron and artists Jesús Saiz and Paul Azaceta?
Azaceta?
Yeah. Azaceta? I don't know. Sorry.
He'll tell us when he listens.
Yes. Avid fan of the podcast. This is, in my opinion, a much needed reinvention of the character. And he hasn't been published since 2020. And I think Marvel kind of read the writing on the wall as far as what was happening to the Punisher and his logo, and they say so as much in these quotes I'm about to read to you. This is a quote from Jason Aaron, the writer, and Jason Aaron's written a ton of crazy, like, just character-defining runs on Thor and the Avengers, and tons of great stuff for Marvel.
Yeah. Go read his Thor and the Avengers now, because they were both phenomenal.
Yeah, legendary runs. People were calling them legendary runs while they were being written.
Right.
That's how good they were. So Jason Aaron had this to say, said, so many different groups have tried to appropriate the Punisher symbol and write their own story of what that symbol means to match whatever their agenda. but they don't get to define the story of this character. And it's the character of Frank Castle that I'm interested in. His story has always been a dark and twisted tragedy about a man consumed by war, for better or worse, no matter what sort of shirt he wears. And that's exactly the kind of story we're telling here, as I am as excited about this story as anything I've ever written for Marvel. So that's a big statement from Jason Aaron, touching on the appropriation of his logo by racists and Trump supporters and QAnon people and just
anyone under the sun.
Yeah, right-wing wackos, Blue Lives Matter, just insane co-option, insane appropriation of a symbol that means I murder people. It's just crazy.
Right.
Crazy, if you ask me. And then we also had a quote from Marvel's editor-in-chief, C.B. Cebulski, that says, "The Punisher is not a hero or a role model, a fact that's been reinforced in the pages of our books. For readers who unpack Frank's character, there's a deep and compelling story about how his demons drive him to do terrible things that heroes would never do. And when you think about this story in that context, it directly contradicts how the Punisher has been appropriated."
Well, literally... Tell me you've never read a Punisher book without telling me you've never read a Punisher book. Look around and see any literally almost any use of the Punisher's logo, and it's like that. It's the Inigo Montoya. That word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
I mean, specifically when it's used by members of law enforcement or people that support members of law enforcement.
That's extremely worrying when you see it that.
This guy is a murdering vigilante. Like, this is not the guy that you should be aligning yourself with if you want us to think you are the good guy.
Yep.
Because we do not think the Punisher is a good person. And if that's who you are chasing as your
Frank
hero,
Frank Castle doesn't think he doesn't see himself as a good person. He knows he's a monster.
He knows he's a monster. And these quotes, I have to say, I would have loved in 2020, when there was so much social upheaval and political unrest, social unrest surrounding any event that happened in 2020. I'm sure people listening know what I'm talking about without me citing every little thing that was
we only have so much time on the pod.
Exactly. I would have loved to see a statement like this come out from Marvel or from Disney while all that was happening. These are the closest things I've ever seen to Marvel or anybody from Marvel addressing the fact that his image or his logo has been co-opted by fanatical, violent fueled people, racists and QAnon people like we're talking about. I would love to see something stronger from Marvel about, like, hey, don't take this, guys. We disavow anyone that's using this logo. We don't think it should be appropriate that way. I don't know if we're ever going to get that because, I don't know, they want money. I don't know. They want people to, I don't think people that are using that image like that are actually reading the book, so I don't think they're going to lose money saying something like that, and I would like to see that from Disney, but I don't know if we're ever going to see it. But anyway, this series... Long story short, this series is going to end up seeing Frank Castle in control of the Hand. The Hand being the gang of Japanese mobsters, ninjas, whatever, that you see in shows like Daredevil or comics like Daredevil. They've always been big in the Daredevil world. Frank Castle is going to somehow inherit control of the Hand, which is certainly unlike anything I've ever seen Frank Castle do in the past. He's never been necessarily a leader, especially not of a organization like the Hand. And they also, I'm sure, in response to everything that we were just talking about socially and politically, they changed the logo that he's going to be wearing. It's still skull-like, but also has these weird giant horns on it, and it's also just like a little bit different.
Well, and that's become a bit of a problem in itself, it seems. Because with him leading the Hand and the new design on the logo looking extremely like a traditional samurai mask, there's a lot of talk about, that being a bit on the cultural appropriation side, and things are things are not looking great on that side of the coin for Marvel either.
Yeah, the classic story, the classic mistake made by white writers, where they send the white character to lead a troop of Asian characters, like Last Samurai, or The Great Wall. I'm trying to think of like movies that have done that in the past, like, or honestly, Iron Fist, the Marvel show
Danny
Iron
Rand,
Fist.
yeah.
Like, probably should have cast an Asian guy as Danny Rand. That was a big missed opportunity. But yeah, you're right, and I don't think necessarily that the change of that logo. I'm interested to see what this series does. I don't necessarily think that change of that logo is going to change how people look at the Punisher, the last 50 years of Punisher or whatever necessarily. I think it's got to come on a character level, and that's what I'm interested to see. Like, but again, we just said we know Tucker Carlson doesn't read Punisher comics, but he has worn a Punisher pin during his dumb show. Doing anything to the Punisher in the comics isn't necessarily going to change the mind of any of the people that are appropriating his logo, because they don't read the comics, so they don't know necessarily, unless it's like a big thing, like unless they make him gay, which would blow up, and it would, like they did with when Jonathan Kent came out as bisexual. That was on Fox News. You know what I mean? Like, it would have to be something like that, where they change his character drastically.
Yep.
To let people know, like just taking him away from shooting people from a van and putting him in charge of the Hand, I don't know is going to make like national news, like the way comics sometimes do when big things happen.
Right.
But I don't know. They'd have to make him gay. They'd have to make him like very anti-cop. Like, he would have to just be like going after police officers exclusively, which I don't think is a story that Marvel wants to write. But
probably not.
I don't know. I'm very interested to see what comes out of this.
Yeah.
Because of everything that we're talking about, everything surrounding the Punisher as a character, the logo of the Punisher, and how it's being used. Again, Jason Aaron is an incredible writer, so I can't wait to see what he does with this character and how it turns out, and where it leaves the character of Frank Castle, I should say. Coming up this week in comic books, we got Amazing Spider-Man 83, Dune, A Whisper of Caladan Seas, #1 from Boom Studios, new Dune series, coinciding with the new Dune fever that's going on in the world. We got Once and Future 23, Action Comics 1038, DC vs. Vampires #3, The Flash #777, Human Target #3, Swamp Thing Green Hell #1, Star Wars Adventures 13, and Wastelanders Star-Lord #1. Marvel continuing their Wastelanders series. So a lot of stuff coming out this week. Yep. I spent the afternoon. I read a couple comics today. I was able to read back issues of Nightwing. Like I mentioned, I read that Nightwing 87. That was glorious. All of one scene. Caught up on some Catwoman, and I am about to dive back into Saga, which I'm very excited about. I know that the Saga is picking up where it left off, I think January.
Nice.
Last time we talked about it, I think. So I am not done with the first run yet, but I've had all 3 books just sitting on my shelf for a while now. So I'm about to dive back into book 2 of Saga. Steve, what are you reading lately? I know you got a big pile. What's been focus?
Finishing up the Hawkeye compendium, because that is a book.
Yeah, it is. Great. So good.
Finally caught up on some of the floppies that I'd been going through, just stuff on my pull list, Once in Future, Something's Killing the Children, House of Slaughter, all killing it. Human Target 1 and 2, Tom King just doing Tom King things, because why not?
Have you read that? Have you read Human Target?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, awesome. I didn't know you were pulling Human Target. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yep. It's
nice.
Right there. But, yeah.
That book, too, that's... The second issue of Human Target was, like, way sexier than I thought it was going to be.
I gotcha. Yep.
Just written as, like, crazy tension between Christopher Chance and Ice there. It's just like, whoa, this is, yeah.
Oh, God.
It was great. You're right. It's really cool. It's, like, very huge film noir vibes. which
Absolutely.
is really cool for sure.
It's, we'll see where it goes, but it's holding up to his standard. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and other than that, I'm just kind of plugging away at whatever. I've got God knows how many trades that I still need to like make my way through. So Saga being one of them, I picked up the first trade of that. So we'll see where that goes.
I got for Christmas, I got subsequent volumes of both the Sandman and Alan Moore's Swamp Thing run. Volumes that are at least one full volume away that I have read so far. So like I have volume 4 of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, but I haven't read it yet.
Yep.
I got volume 5, and so I have 2 that I haven't read yet.
Nice.
Like, that's what I mean. Yeah. So I'm still asking for them because I want, because like every once in a while they change the packaging or like the covers and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And if I start a series with this style, I want it to look the same on my bookshelf. And if you change it midway, I'm not a fan of that. So I'm trying to get all of them before they, before it becomes the whatever year anniversary and they issue out new covers and new style. So anyway, I know.
That was the Star Wars spines were all like perfect, and then they changed them, and they changed them in just a subtle enough way that it looks bad on the bookshelf. It's like, if they drastically did it, it's like it's fine. But it was just like, oh, they moved this down there, and now it's just like line. Oh, like that's not good. Yeah. So the things you can complain about when you collect comic books.
I know. The things you can get into the weeds about. All right, we got 3 one-shots. We're going to do 3 one-shots, and we'll talk about them real quick. And then I'm going to do a special reading of things to look forward to in 2020, because this is our last episode of 2021, ladies and gentlemen. Next time you see us, it will be a new year. So anyway, let's start with these 3 one-shots. Let's bang these out of the way. Steve,
sure.
What do you think? Let's hit it off.
Yeah, Disney is officially launching a Best Picture campaign for Spider-Man No Way Home. Good to see them making a push for some sort of award nominations for it. Historically, movies in the genre do not do phenomenally well in
farewell.
Yeah, in awards categories. So we'll see where that goes.
Yep. We got a HBO Max 2022 Sizzle Reel, things to look forward to, including scenes from House of the Dragon, Peacemaker, Westworld, and Gremlins, Secrets of the Mogwai. So if you're interested in any of those things, or other HBO stuff like His Dark Materials, or whatever other HBO things that are happening, you check that out. It is available, anywhere. But some cool to see some footage from upcoming genre stuff.
Absolutely. And rounding it out, the Book of Boba Fett debuts this Wednesday. So we're back on the Star Wars train. I believe after this week, Hawkeye Talkeye will be converting itself to the Fett set.
Oh, wow. Good rhyme.
I just threw that one out on the fly. So
when I think about Book of Boba Fett, I'm very excited about it, but I just haven't really been thinking about it so much because of just Hawkeye and whatever else. So I'm kind of excited that I haven't been like inundating myself with Star Wars hype, and I'm just gonna like walk into a new Star Wars thing and like let it hit me square in the face. I'm excited about it.
It's perfect coming off of, you've got like Spidey and then the Hawkeye finale, and then for me it was Wheel of Time finale last Friday, and
that's right.
Now it's like, all right, have a little time to breathe. Oh, we're back into it. Okay, cool.
We're back into it. I like Spider-Man No Way Home, but Steve, I don't think it has a chance of winning Best Picture, or even being, honestly, I don't think it has a chance of being nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. And I say that, one, thinking of what kind of movie it is, and then also thinking of how the Oscars think of those kind of movies. Like it was so rare. Like Black Panther got nominated for Best Picture. Yeah. And that's a superhero movie, but it also deals with social commentary and racism and things like that. Like Spider-Man No Way Home is good, but it doesn't deal with any kind of like heavy themes necessarily that we don't see in other superhero movies, like, I don't know. Like I know it made $1 billion, but that alone does not a Best Picture nominee make.
No, like it should win a lot of awards at the show.
Sure.
But none of them should be for Best Picture. Like it may end up my favorite movie of the year, but that doesn't make it the Best Picture.
Seldom are my favorite movies of the year best. Like, I don't think
Right.
The Suicide Squad is going to be nominated for Best Picture. That's my favorite movie of the year. But yeah, it should get effects and it should get costumes and
Yep.
you know, even maybe cinematography. Like, it's really well made and written and shot, and you know, best adapted screenplay, something like that. You know, but
Right. I mean, if
I don't.
you know, if Giacchino gets a nod for the score or whatever,
Sure,
like,
yeah, of
sure.
course. Like, I think, like, don't get me wrong, I think this movie is great, and if it was nominated for Best Picture, I would think that would be amazing. In reality, I don't think that has a chance in hell of being nominated for Best Picture.
Just knowing what they're looking for.
Yeah, agreed. So, before this show, I did a quick internet search, ladies and gentlemen, and I put together a list of things coming out in 2022, releases that we will most likely be talking about here on the Multiverse Report. You, as listeners of the Multiverse Report, will most likely be interested in happening. And holy God, this is a long list. The things that I'm about to say on this list, I had to do, like, I read a couple other websites had these lists kind of like compiled already, and I was like picking and choosing from those lists. And a couple of them, actually for a lot of them, I had to go and do independent research and Google this thing and make sure. I was like, really? This is coming out this year? Really? This is coming out this year? This is coming out this year too? So,
or I guess should we preface it with, these are slated to come out in 22.
They're slated to come out in 22. That is a good way to say that, Steve, because this list would have been longer if Marvel hadn't bumped a ton of their movies out an entire year, as we talked about a few weeks ago.
Yep.
So yeah, release dates get shuffled around. And certainly for movies, you know, COVID numbers are going way back up. So who knows if we're going to start seeing delays in movie theaters again.
Yeah, you made it into the theater for No Way Home just in time.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't think I'm going back for a while. At least until Batman. But even then, if things are terrible, then I'm not going. But anyway, I'm going to read this list. And Steve, you have not seen the entirety of this list. So
I have not.
I'll be interested to see your reaction as I cruise through this list. And I included some things that are maybe tangential to like comic book or, you know, nerdy things, but you know, they're still in the same Venn diagram somewhere. So here we go. Here, and this is they're not in release order. They're not grouped by movies or TV. This is just a list. They're not ranked in any way, except I saved for a few of the most exciting ones for the bottom of the list.
Oh,
but
boy.
anyway, that's it. 2022 releases TV shows and movies in no particular order. House of the Dragon, Peacemaker, Morbius the Living Vampire, Scream, She-Hulk, The Sandman, Uncharted, Lord of the Rings, The Last of Us, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Willow, Ms. Marvel, Fantastic Beasts 3, Mission Impossible 7, Secret Invasion, Star Wars Andor, Umbrella Academy Season 3, Top Gun Maverick, DC League of Super Pets, Moon Knight, Jurassic World Dominion, Lightyear, Stranger Things Season 4, Avatar 2.
What?
2. Wow. Avatar The Last Airbender, live action. Aquaman
the Netflix
and
run, yeah.
The Netflix, that's right. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, Halo, The Bad Batch Season 2, Halloween Ends. And here is the big finale. Ready? Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Thor Love and Thunder, Black Adam, The Flash, Star Wars Mandalorian Season 3, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, and The Batman. 2022, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
2022.
So you're saying we're going to have plenty to talk about in the next year.
I'm saying this podcast ain't going anywhere.
Wow.
Oh my God, that's going to be a lot.
Yeah, that's just impressive.
Yeah. Yep.
I was exhausted just hearing you read that.
I know, man. All those Marvel shows, I was like, Secret Invasion's not supposed to come out in 2022. Oh,
right.
Okay. Yeah, I guess so. My God.
It's like that one had to have been pushed. No, apparently not.
And things like the movie The Marvels, that was supposed to come out in 2022 and it got pushed. And I think possibly even maybe was Ant-Man supposed to be 2022, Ant-Man 3, and that got pushed too. Like there was at least one other Marvel supposed to be 2022. That's getting pushed. So crazy.
I mean,
anyway,
but we still get two bangers with Love and Thunder and Wakanda Forever, so.
Yeah, and on the DC side, we got The Flash and Black Adam, and we also got Lord of the Rings. a Lord of the Rings TV show, and 3 Star Wars shows.
And the Batman.
Whoa. And the Batman. Jesus Christ. And Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Like the ones that we just mentioned alone should make for an insane year. Yeah. That would be an insane year if it was just those things.
And that's with no other news dropping.
No other news dropping. I don't want to fully digress about this, but I paused when I said Avatar 2 because I'm real interested to talk about Avatar 2.
In how bad that's going to be?
And just what it's going to be, what it's going to look like, the possible huge box office failure that it's going to be because no one gives a shit about Avatar anymore. That movie came out in, was it 2010? 2000
yeah, something like that. Like
9?
Might have been right around there. Maybe even before. I can't even remember, but
we'll talk about. I'm sure there'll be a trailer.
Let's put it this way.
We'll talk about it.
For anyone who's watching this, when COVID started, we were doing trivia pretty regularly, and it got to the point where if you got one question right in a round, you reported it as Avatar because that's the amount of times anyone had ever seen Avatar.
One, yeah,
insanity, and yet they're trying to make 5 sequels.
We will dive into that, I'm sure, very deep at some point when we get the first trailer for Avatar 2.
Oh, absolutely.
December. So it might be a while before we actually get a trailer. But so we are now going to dive into the season finale of Hawkeye. It won't be a super long convo probably, but we're just going to wrap up this episode. Spoiler review of the last episode of Hawkeye on Disney+. So stop listening right now if you haven't seen it, or if you don't want it ruined for you. Stop listening right now. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening. We'll see you next time around the
Like,
Multiverse.
subscribe, do the whole 9 yards. Follow us on
Twitch and YouTube and
website's
Instagram.
Back up. Check it all out at themultiverseport.com. So
all that stuff
should be good to go.
And goodbye. Okay, let's talk about Hawkeye.
Yes. Spoiler-filled Hawkeye now. First thing we got to talk about is what we've been talking about and what we've been waiting for: the full return of Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson the Kingpin Fisk. A very welcome, but not without controversy, return to the MCU. So, what did you think of the Wilson Fisk that we saw in this episode of Hawkeye, Steve? Well, D'Onofrio came out and said that he had it from Marvel Brass that this was a continuation of his character.
Yes, it is the same character. Yep.
And as such, I could see it. Like, it was... If you had no knowledge of Fisk prior or what he's fighting to get back or any of that, you would probably be very confused with this interpretation of Fisk and how he got shot with an arrow and had no repercussions directly in his sternum.
Well, yeah, I mean, he could have been wearing some kind of protection.
Likely, yeah.
I mean, he's a tough dude.
Oh, yeah. But, like, my wife, when she saw that, she's like, what? Okay.
Yeah. This was very much a more direct comic book representation of Kingpin than we had seen in Daredevil. And I think that's not going to be everybody's favorite choice necessarily.
It was a direct draw from my buddy. Literally sent me the book cover from Spider-Man Family Business.
Oh wow!
Was where the costume itself came from.
Yeah, he's got the big gaudy cane with a big jewel on the top of it. He's got the Hawaiian shirt, no tie, big white jacket. Yeah, there it is. Look at that. Wow. Yup, that was it. He's getting his hands dirty. He's not, I've been rewatching season 1 of Daredevil.
Yep.
So I was like really primed for, whoa, this is different. This is not the same one. It's not like I hadn't seen it in 5 years. I was in it.
See, okay, so that's my episode. Like, from my brain, it's like I'm probably interspersing D'Onofrio's version with stuff I've read over the course or whatever.
Sure. Yeah. This is a character that in season 1 of Daredevil murders his own men for saying his name out loud. And here in Hawkeye, we see him on the ground, getting his hands dirty, fighting a superhero, which really he would try to avoid doing at all costs. He's someone that he's out. He is far away. He is high on top of a skyscraper watching the buildings explode from his penthouse. He is not on the ground using his fists to get, unless it's, revenge and he's slamming a dude's head in a car door. But that's in a vacant parking lot. It's not in the middle of New York City and middle of Rockefeller Center.
Right. It was actually closer to the Into the Spider-Verse version that we saw.
Yes, it was. And I also read a quote from Vincent D'Onofrio where he was talking about the differences, and he said that he, in talking to Marvel, kind of came to this idea that Wilson Fisk had lost a lot of his power during the blip, during that 5 years where people were gone. They didn't say that he had blipped. They didn't say that he had not or whatever, but like whatever structures of power changed during after the fallout of that, which was huge. We know was like a big deal for the world economy, obviously, and everything. So thinking of taking that into consideration made it a lot more easier for me to be like, oh, okay, I see how this guy is this guy now. Maybe he threw some of his hoity-toityness out the window in that 5 years and was like, this is a catastrophe. Screw it. Yeah. I'm wearing Hawaiian shirts. I'm not wearing a tie anymore. So I can see that. And maybe he's on his way back up, or he's not quite as high. I mean, they talk about him like he's a high level guy. Sure. Well, but Hawkeye.
Clint also would have known him as the Kingpin. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So anyway, clearly it's definitely, like I had mentioned on another Hawkeye Talkeye not long ago, kind of realizing, if he's coming back, MCU is very PG-13 and Daredevil is a hard R show. And what is the difference going to be there? And is it something that I really want when I really think about it? I do love seeing him in the role. I don't want them to recast it, but this is like the compromise that we fans of Vincent D'Onofrio have to make, I think, in order to get him back into the universe. And I don't for a second think that he died at the end of this show. The camera zoomed up. We heard a gunshot. There's could be so many things, either he got shot and survived, or he took the gun and it fired. There's no way that they're not bringing Vincent D'Onofrio back without keeping him around. And the quote that I read from him was saying that he wants to keep it going. He doesn't know what's going to happen, but he would love to continue in the MCU.
And Kingpin isn't going down like that either.
I don't think they're not going through the work of bringing him back without plans for him.
Right. And keeping it as tight as they did until the reveal. Yeah. Like everyone heard you heard more about Charlie Cox as Daredevil than you did of Wilson D'Onofrio. Yeah, Wilson D'Onofrio. Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk. So
Vincent Fisk, yes.
Yes.
Also, I got to say, in general, I love this episode. I love this series. I thought Hawkeye was great. It's one of my favorite of the Marvel Disney Plus shows, I think, hands down. It was super fun, action-packed, a lot of cool character stuff. I love the visual. I can't believe that I had never seen this in a show before, ever. The visual of the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree just collapsing and falling onto the ice rink. So cool. Oh yeah. How have I never seen that before in anything else?
And the fact awesome. Kate shooting the stanchions that held it up, and Clint literally no don't do that. Don't do that. It's like, that was great. It was perfect amount of tension. Like it hit all the buttons there.
And like the idea that he was just planning to just hang out in the tree.
Yeah, it's like
until it was over. Like he didn't have a plan. He was like, I'm just gonna be here for a little bit, I guess. Yeah, I thought it was great. We got a lot more trick arrows, which is cool. A lot of cool, like electrocuting trick arrows and arrows that shot other little spines at people and stuff. Oh, yeah. Like that's really cool. That fight on the ice rink was awesome. And more Yelena being just an incredible badass.
Florence Pugh is just a gem. Like she is nailing that role, or any role. Like she's just phenomenal as Yelena.
Yeah, and I really love the relationship that they're building between her and Kate. I think at one point I turned to my wife while we were watching and I said, cut to 3 years from now when we're watching a Young Avengers movie and these two
Yep.
are best friends, you know, like
Absolutely.
that's definitely going to happen. There's Kate even says like, stop making me like you.
Yeah.
And at one point. And then we got that great, you know, it was a cool emotional conversation that you knew was coming between Yelena and Clint about Natasha and her death. And you knew that was happening. And you knew that was going to be the linchpin that stopped her from killing him. Like she realizes, oh, this is the only other person that knew my sister.
Right.
I can't kill this person because if I kill this person, my sister will be gone, or things that he knows about her will be gone forever. So, and I also called before we even started the show. I turned to my wife and I said, "Oh, I just figured out how this is going to end. She's going to go with him to his house for Christmas and spend Christmas with his family because her mom's going to die or go to jail or something." I thought her mom was going to die, but she didn't die. Of course, it's the MCU. Nobody dies. But yeah, I liked it a lot. And we got Echo. I thought it was cool that Echo she clearly emancipated herself from the grasp of Kingpin by shooting him, we think, at the end.
But she at least got away from him, or temporarily got out of his influence. So where that show goes, that'll be interesting to see.
I'll be very excited to see that character pop up again because I thought she was very interesting and worth seeing more, I think.
Yep.
Sure. Also got the full song from the Rogers the Musical as the post-credit scene, which I thought was cool. I wonder whether or not that was planned or they saw the reaction to Rogers the Musical online in the first episode and said, "Oh, okay, well, we should put this as the post-credit scene in the 6th episode," because people flipped out about that, and I thought it was cool. Like, it was cool of them to do because people loved it, but also like that alone, someone had to write that song, someone had to design that stage, somebody had to choreograph all those actors, and like that is so much work to do, and it was in 2 minutes of episode 1. You know what I mean? And it made a huge splash because it was so well done. But like people did all of that, and it wasn't even the focus of the show.
Oh yeah.
So, like, I think those actors, the people that wrote that song, the choreographers, like, they deserve to have their work shown. So it was cool to see that entire scene.
Absolutely.
At the end. Yeah.
And I love the little Easter egg in there where you'll, as someone in the stage end of things would appreciate, where they kept panning to the director in the middle of it. Yes. And he was watching, I'm like, okay, I can feel this.
That was cool. I meant to say this last week in our Spider-Man No Way Home review.
Yep.
But I noticed in one scene, I think it was at the beginning when he's swinging away with Zendaya to get away from the crowd. I think that's when it was, but it could have been later in the movie. In the background, there is a billboard for Rogers the Musical in Spider-Man.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. Again, not a spoiler. Just look for it. If you haven't seen Spider-Man yet, go see it. Yeah, and that's cool. And because then at the end, okay, that's too much of a spoiler. I won't say anything at the end. I was just thinking about how it could possibly be happening at the same time as Hawkeye. And there's things that make it very possible, and there's things that make it less possible.
Right.
But the end might line up better with when Hawkeye is taking place. Considering the very last few moments of the movie Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yep.
Anyway, I loved Hawkeye, and there's been rumors of a season 2. I know that the director has said that he would love to do a season 2, if that's an option, but I don't know.
I mean that could turn into the setup for Young Avengers.
Yeah.
I mean, especially coming out of Multiverse of Madness, if we find out more about what happened to Speed and Wiccan.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got those two, you've got Yelena, you've got Kate, you've got Patriot.
We'll have America Chavez.
Yeah. So that's a solid core. We got Kid Loki.
And, I mean, at some point in the future, we'll have Riri Williams.
Yep. Technically, since, he won't be able to play him, but Iron Lad, another version of Nathaniel Richards. So
yeah, true. There's just so much they could do.
Jonathan Majors probably isn't pulling that one off, but I think he'll be able to pull off most of the rest of them.
Yeah. So we will see. Remains to be seen. I would love a season 2 of Hawkeye, even if it was just focused on Kate. Like, I feel like we love Kate now. They did such a good job of introducing us to that character that it could be mostly about her, and we would watch it. So, I don't know. So much they could do, and we'll just have to see when's the next time we'll see these characters. That's it's not a drawback, but it's something slightly frustrating with the MCU is that they do such a good job of making you love these characters.
Yep.
But they also have 1,000 characters at this point, and they don't have enough time to use all of them all the time. Like we love Doctor Strange, but we haven't had a Doctor Strange sequel since it's been a while since the first one came out. Finally getting him in No Way Home, finally getting a sequel, like it just takes time for things to move. And we still love. When's the next time we're gonna see? I guess we're gonna see Bruce Banner and She-Hulk, but like you're just introducing us more characters and more characters. So like people love Captain Marvel. Like when's Captain Marvel coming back? Oh, not till the Marvels, which is 2023 when her first one came out in 2018 or 19 or whatever. It's like we love all these characters so much, and we have no idea when we're ever going to see them again, unless they're currently on the slate. So it's can be a little frustrating, I think, when you love a character so much and then they just go away for an indefinite amount. Like when's the next time we're going to see Sam Wilson? Like we don't know when Captain America 4 is coming out. They're working on it, but it's going to be a while before we see that guy. And Bucky, like people love Bucky too. When is he coming back? Who knows?
Right.
So
same movie.
Yeah. We'll see. We will. But that is all I got. And unless you got anything else, Steve, I think we can do an official wrap up of this episode of the Multiverse Report.
No, I'd say that's about it. Tune in next week for more trials, travails, and whatever the hell happens in the next week.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, we didn't think anything was going to happen last week. I don't know that much is going to be announced this week, but we were wrong last week. So we'll see. Maybe if we're just ranking and fighting about Star Wars movies, maybe this is the week we do it. Who knows?
Yeah.
But we shall see, ladies and gentlemen. And until next week, we'll see you in the multiverse.